Alrighty, week 7 for the most part is in the books. We've got a double header coming up on Monday Night Football as well as Sunday Night Football. But for the most part, you probably know if you've won or lost your matchup, or you'll have a good idea of what the outcome might be. Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Joe Money Bags Mixon, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tank Bigsby, David Njoku, Bijan Robinson. What do all these guys have in common? Well, those are names of players who helped you win your fantasy week here in week 7. Unfortunately, the reality is not every player helped you win your matchup. In fact, many of them actively hurt you. And I can relate to a lot of you. This was a tough week for me and a lot of the shares that I own in certain players. So let's talk about the players that destroyed your week. Let's talk about what our panic level is, 1 to 10 for every single player. And I want you to tell me what you guys think in the chat as well. I got a like goal today of 300 likes. With your help, I think we can get there. Do me a massive favor and go ahead and smash that like button. And if you see on the top left of your screen, we're trying to get to 40K this year. That would be absolutely incredible. So if you've been lurking around for a while, maybe today is the day to subscribe. All right, let's start the video off with some quarterbacks. And none other than C.J. Stroud. High expectations going into this game versus the Green Bay Packers. It was a high over-under. Two teams that had very good offenses. They were firing on all cylinders. Just 1 week ago, we saw C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell link up. We saw C.J. Stroud and Stephon Diggs link up. Obviously, C.J. Stroud's such a good player in his first year, going into his second year. We felt he was overdrafted on this channel, but that's besides the point. He comes out and has an absolute stinker. There's no way around this. Under 50% of your passes completed, CJ, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. Under 50% of your passes completed? You sure about that? You sure? You sure you're not Anthony Richardson? Look, no, there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to panic here on C.J. Stroud. I will say his receivers didn't help him out all that much. He didn't throw the ball at a high volume, only 21 completions, which by the way, attempts rather, which by the way is a season low. If you actually look at his attempts on the year, that is by far a season low, 21 attempts. I mean, he hasn't had a single game under 30 attempts, and somehow this time out, we're at 21. That's what we call an outlier, ladies and gentlemen. Now, clearly, C.J. Stroud does not have this top 5, top 3 ceiling fantasy finish that a lot of people in the fantasy industry wanted him to have, but what is a panic level? I mean, there's not really a panic level here. He just had a bad game. This is probably a 3 out of 10. There's no more reason to be panicked than you already were, right? So, bad game from him. Not very high percentage of his passes completed. Tank Dell dropped a touchdown in the end zone. And what's strange about this is this game was never in hand. It's not like the Texans only threw the ball 21 times because they were dominating the game or they won or they were up big time throughout the entire game. That wasn't the game script. That's not how it really worked. But this is just an outlier. I mean, Mama said there'd be days like this, and unfortunately C.J. Stroud found out. You F around and you find out. So unfortunately, not the best day from him, but panic level, I mean, he doesn't have the upside that you drafted him to have, but the panic level shouldn't be too high. All right, let's talk about Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels comes out, and on the first play, I mean, y'all know I love my Commanders, or I love my Jaden Daniels. I love the stock I have of him. So it's hard to talk about this right now because I lost a lot of leagues. It's not his fault. But he comes out first play of the offense. The little RPO, whoop, runs for 50 yards down the field, looks electric, rumbling, tumbling, Lamar Jackson type beat. And then, unfortunately, the man hurts his rib. He leaves the game. He finishes with 5 points. Man, this really hurt my fantasy leagues. I have so much Jaden Daniels, and we were on track to win so many games. And unfortunately, he goes out with the injury. But there are some reasons for optimism here, okay? The only reason we're talking about this name is because if there's anybody out there who is worried, I like to bring your panic level down. I like to tell you, you don't need to panic about Jaden Daniels. So let's talk about it real quick. First off, if this means anything to you, his mom tweeted out that he's okay. All right. We know mom knows best. All right. Whatever mom says, we know she knows best. But Ms. Jackson says he's fine. Yes, that is actually his mother's Twitter account. Quinn on Jaden Daniels said they have no updates. He'll find out tomorrow, but I do not have any updates as of tonight. We saw other reports come out where people were essentially saying, look, he probably could have gone back into the game, but ultimately they didn't need him to. By the time he came back from the locker room and they were up by, 4 touchdowns or something crazy like that. So the reality is, if that was a 7-7 game by the time Jaden Daniels was back out of the locker room, does he play? Maybe. But was there any reason for him to play when the Panthers were just a doormat, the doormat of the NFL this week? Probably not, right? Probably not. But it was really sad to see, but your panic level should be a 0 out of 10. But again, really sad, really upsetting to see. All right, let's move on to probably my most frustrating bust of the week. And for me, at least, that is Tyreek Hill. So, hey, Mike McDaniels, do we need to start having a conversation about your ability to coach? I know you don't have Tua. You've had no Tua for how long now? You just came off a bye. You knew you were playing the Colts for 2 weeks. You could sit there and scheme up ways to get the best weapon in the NFL the ball. Oh my God. Tyreek had no targets at half. Tyreek had 0 targets at half. He comes out here, finishes the week with 2.3 fantasy points, 2 targets, 1 catch for 8 yards. Okay, Zach, well, you know what? Don't blame Mike McDaniels. Obviously, if they gave him 2 targets, it's because the Dolphins won the game. Right? Right? No. Actually, no. They lost the game, and they targeted the best weapon in the NFL twice. I don't care if you have a backup quarterback. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Let's just see. All right, maybe they didn't target anyone. Wait a second. No, hold on. Hold on a second. Jonnu Smith had 7 targets. Yes, Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith had a 32% target share. All right, well, surely Tyreek must have been second in targets. No, that was Malik Washington, the rookie. All right, well, wait, hold on a second. Julian Hill? Who the hell is Julian Hill? I haven't even heard of that name until today. He ran 5 routes, and he was targeted on 2 of them? Julian fucking Hill? Who is that? Who is that? You're joking. All right, rant over. The reality is Tyreek's going to be incredible from week 8 onwards. All right, Tua is coming back. They're going to be able to run their offense exactly like they want to. I just thought that in a game versus the Colts, which is a great matchup for your wide receiver, you have multiple weeks off to prepare around your best weapon, and you decide to give him 0 targets in the first half? 2 targets on the game? Are you kidding me? I think it's time to have a real conversation about Mike McDaniel, because I don't think there's many coaches in the NFL who could have coached more poorly without their starting quarterback. Genuinely. All right, I like Mike McDaniel. He's a fun guy. He's cool to relate to. Funny press conferences. It's not so funny when Tyreek Hill's getting 2 targets, is it? It's not so funny when he had 0 targets in the first half. But the panic level for me is a 0. Why? Because Tua is coming back next week. So I don't want to freak anyone out. But that was really annoying to watch. All right, let's talk about the 49er wide receivers. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Let's get Deebo Samuel out of the way. Deebo was dealing with a sickness. It kind of came up out of nowhere, apparently. There weren't any reports about it throughout the week. And ultimately, he just couldn't go. He was just always on the oxygen oxygen tank. He couldn't really figure it out. And at the end of the day, he just wasn't able to play in this game. So I wouldn't worry about Deebo Samuel. I think the panic level should probably be a 0. I'm not over-exaggerating when I say that. There's just no panic level on him. He just didn't play. And it's just one of those unfortunate scenarios. I mean, you think back to last year, right? Remember, guys, last year when we had Bijan Robinson, who came in and had 1 carry. You remember that versus the Tampa Bay Bucks? And we didn't really know that was going to happen. That's just the reality of the NFL. That's the reality of football. Now, as far as Brandon Ayuk, he did not have 323 yards. That is definitely a typo. Brandon Ayuk finishes the day with 23 yards, 2 catches for 23 yards. But what we really need to talk about is his injury. Okay, I have a video of it, so I don't want it to be too gruesome, but there's not really much gruesome about it. But this is the Brandon Ayuk injury. You can see here, if we scroll down, you can see the knee and the contact that the defender makes on the knee. It's quite aggressive. The knee does bend in a little right there. Okay, maybe it's a little gruesome. I didn't watch it too closely until right now. That's not ideal. I don't know. I don't know about that one, guys. I don't know. I'm not sure. That might, that might be, okay. I'm not a doctor, but Jeff Mueller is, and he says, concern for significant right knee injury, ACL, MCL. That is, that don't look good, do it. I mean, that doesn't look nice. Oh, yikes. The season from Brandon Ayuk might have just gone from bad to even worse. That's probably a multi-week absence, if not a very serious injury. I'm sorry we keep watching that. So the panic level for me is probably 10 out of 10, if I'm honest with you. Shout out to Tom Christ here with another Twitter doctor who says significant valgus, knee caving inwards here. This puts the ACL and MCL, amongst others, at risk. He's hoping for the best, but another Twitter doctor, what do they mean to you? I don't know. I mean, okay, these are guys who are smarter than me. All right, they might not be the best doctors in the world. I don't know them, but they're smarter than me. And my dumbass looking at this video says, Spaghetti-O, this is probably, it's tough to watch. So, I'm really sorry. If you're out there and you own Brandon Ayuk, I want the best for you. I want the best for your fantasy team. But it is time to prepare for the worst. All right. So if you're out there and you have him, I don't know. This is, you probably feel how I felt when Rashee Rice had that injury. And I just kept telling myself, nah, he's okay. He'll be fine. This is all right. Everything's okay. That's probably how you're feeling right now. Hey, do me a massive favor. Go ahead and smash that like button on today's stream. I got a like goal of 300 likes, and we're almost halfway there. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. You guys are absolutely incredible. Let's move on to our next name. But I will say, Brandon Ayuk for me is probably a 10 out of 10 panic. It's probably 10 out of 10. What is your number on Brandon Ayuk, guys? He was already inconsistent. He was already boom bust. Now you add a potential injury. He's at least going to miss multiple weeks. If not, season ending. What is your level out of 10? What would that be for you? All right, let's move on here to the next name. That is Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. So here's the good news for Stephon Diggs. You can see at the bottom there, he was still targeted 7 times. So that is the encouraging news for a name like Stephon Diggs. Because if you look at his game logs, it's not like he was completely ghosted out there, right? For example, last week versus New England, 7 targets. Great. 19 fantasy points. Had a touchdown, 77 yards. The week before that, he had 8 targets. Great. Almost 15 fantasy points. This is really 1 out of 2 games where you've been unhappy with him. So to me, I would say the panic level on Stephon Diggs is quite low. The target share is still there. He's still heavily involved. This was just one of those games where, Mama said there'd be days like this. It just did not work out in his favor. And sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But if we go and we look at the Texans wide receivers in this game, we can actually have a look at the target share. All right, so we can see Stephon Diggs had 7 targets. They say 19. I believe it was actually 21 attempts. So that's a 33% target share for Stephon Diggs. I don't think there needs to be literally any reason to panic on Stephon Diggs at this point. However, Tank Dell, 4 targets. That's just a 19% target share, which isn't abnormal for him. But the issue is he had some pretty poor play. I mean, he dropped a wide open touchdown, a play that you would expect, you would anticipate Tank Dell, a player of his caliber, with his talent, with his history, you would expect him to make that play. He catches none of his targets. And now you are starting to think about Nico Collins coming back. If you were thinking about trying to sell high on him, it's probably that window might have closed at this point, because you have the Colts next week. Great. That might be your last sell high opportunity, because after that, you've got the Jets. That's a terrible matchup. And then we could be seeing Nico Collins back sooner than later, right? I mean, Nico Collins could be back. When did he go out? So he went out in week 5. So if you think about it, quick math says he's available to come back week 10 versus Detroit if all goes well. So you've got Tank Dell versus the Colts, and then a bad matchup versus the Jets, and then you could have Nico Collins back. And we saw how irrelevant Tank Dell was with the healthy Nico Collins. So to me, there should be a pretty high level of panic here, not for Stephon Diggs, but definitely for Tank Dell. My panic level would probably be, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like 7? Is 7 fair? Is 7 out of 10 fair? Because that feels like a realistic outcome for me. By the way, we just got a brand new report on Brandon Ayuk. Okay, this is not good. This is not good to anybody out there who owns Brandon Ayuk. This is more bad news. I'm getting flashbacks of the Rashee Rice situation, but this is from Shanahan himself on Ayuk's injury. We're worried it's an ACL. It's not confirmed yet. This, at minimum, is probably, guys, a stint on the IR. Best case scenario. A stint on the IR. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Think Puka Nacua at minimum. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, he's out for the entire season. And that is a very realistic outcome right here. And man, that would be really tough considering what a strange season he had. Also thinking about how to value him in dynasty leagues moving forward after such a mediocre season. So prayers up to Brandon Ayuk. It's probably going to be a season-ending injury. I hate to say that. I'm not a doctor. Don't hold me to it, but it does not look good. All right, let's talk about Jayden Reed. This is a really weird game for Jayden Reed. Guys, coming into this game, Jayden Reed was a wide receiver 4 in fantasy football. He was the wide receiver 4 in fantasy football, and Jordan Love missed multiple games. And then he comes out in this game and has just 4 targets. Just 4 targets. That is a low in any game with Jordan Love. Every single game he has played with Jordan Love, he's gotten at least 6 targets. So this is interesting. This is new. And you can't come out here and say, well, the Packers just wanted to run the ball because they had the game in hand. No, that's not the case. That game was not in hand pretty much at any point, right? So we can now see here the actual distribution of the snaps, of the targets. He was still running as many routes as anyone on the field outside of Romeo Doubs, which is not abnormal. But to come out there and have a 12% target share, man, a 12% target share. And what do you know? He is inevitable. The Baba Yaga, Dontavion Wicks. I keep telling y'all, when the man is on the field, he's earning targets. When the man is on the field, he is earning targets at 18% target share, and he split snaps with Christian Watson. I mean, guys, Baba Yaga is getting 35% targets on his routes run. Very impressive when you consider Jayden Reed is over here at 12%, almost 13%. This is the reality of owning a name like Jayden Reed. You have so many good weapons when everyone's healthy in Green Bay. Romeo Doubs is clearly going to be targeted more often. He's going to be a name that we'll talk about on the waiver wire. Christian Watson's going to be involved when he's healthy. Dontavion Wicks, this is not new. I mean, I know he didn't perform well when you wanted him to perform and when he was in your lineups, but Dontavion Wicks has been doing this a long time. Always earning targets on a low percentage of the snaps. He's going to be involved. Tucker Kraft is going to be involved. Hey, shout out to Josh Jacobs getting his first receiving touchdown ever. But this is just the unfortunate reality of owning a player that's in a very stacked wide receiver room. Now, should you panic? No, I don't think you should panic. I mean, guys, we had 6 weeks of evidence that he's a league winner. You have 1 week where it just didn't work out. But no, I would not be panicking on a name like Jaden Reed. Here's the good news if you own a name like Jaden Reed, by the way. Here's the light at the end of the tunnel. You ready for this? Next week, Jacksonville. Wow. That's about as good as it gets. But then the week after, Detroit. So you have 2 matchups in a row, which, again, about as good as it gets for a wide receiver in fantasy football. So your panic level should be very low. Yes, it's disappointing. All right. I mean, you didn't go out there and pop Warner and have a good game every week, did you? All right. You didn't get the targets that you always wanted to. Sometimes you went home and you had some scrapes on your knees. Hey, mama, we didn't do what we wanted to, mama. All right. But it's okay. You'll come out there again. All right. Let's move on to Jameson Williams. This is getting real weird now in Detroit. This is getting real weird. It's getting real spooky. I know it's October. I know Halloween's coming up, but the Jameson Williams usage is so confusing. It is so... Can they figure out what they want to do with him? Can they please figure out what they want to do with Jameson Williams? Because this is turning into Rashid Shaheed 2023 version of Rashid Shaheed, right? This is not Rashid Shaheed 2024. This is Rashid Shaheed 2023. Now, here's the thing. If you have Jameson Williams, you've been bailed out by these touchdowns. It's been low target share for a while, but you've been bailed out by the touchdowns. But you saw this week, unfortunately, the reality of what will happen if Jameson Williams doesn't get into the end zone, all right? He comes out, has just 1 target. I mean, that's tough to see. I mean, that brings me all the way back to his rookie season, to his sophomore season in the NFL, when they were barely letting him touch the ball. 1 target in a pretty neutral game script. I mean, they were actually down by multiple scores at one point in this game. You look at weeks 1 and 2, he's averaging 10 targets per game. Okay? And since that time, we're talking about a guy who's averaging 2.5 targets. 2.5 targets per game? How am I supposed to rely on that? I mean, then you look at the target share with these Detroit Lions, and it's not all that dissimilar to the Packers in the sense of there's just so many weapons. There's so many guys that need to get fed. There's so many guys who are hungry. And if they don't get fed, they get hangry. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of those names. But you come here and you look, okay, on the day, Jameson Williams with a 4% target share. That's disgusting. Well, Sam LaPorta had the same exact target share. Sam LaPorta had 1 target. Khalif Raymond? I thought we got past this, Detroit. I thought we got past Khalif Raymond. We're going to still use Khalif. We're still going to use Tim Patrick. This is going to make everything way more confusing. Please, please, Detroit, stop it. Please stop. You're making us all lose our minds. Dan Campbell, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. So, I feel like the panic is justified, honestly. To me, this is like a 6.5 out of 10 on Jameson Williams, simply because this is not necessarily new. You just didn't get lucky with the touchdown this week. So, Jameson needs to be in the boom bust category. He's got to be there. He's got to be like Rashid Shaheed of 2023. And you have to really look at matchups. You have to think about game script. And moving forward, you have to think about floor as well. For example, you're going to be faced probably in a lot of leagues with names like Jacoby Myers or Wan'Dale Robinson or Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you need to start thinking about if you want the floor or the ceiling, because clearly the floor for Jameson Williams is not what we wanted it to be. It looked so good to start the year, but it's a fugazi. It's not real. It doesn't exist, okay? And that's the unfortunate reality. Appreciate you guys for being here with me. Go ahead and smash that like button to show some love. Update, we are about 100 likes away now from our goal, which is incredible. Just 100 likes away from 300. I appreciate y'all for being here with me. Let's move on to Diontae Johnson. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I really like Diontae this week. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here on my channel, on the stream, and lie to your face and tell you I saw this coming. I did. 3 targets? Hold on. Three targets. Wait a second. Diontae Johnson has been top 5 in targets since Andy Dalton took over. 3 targets? Oh, okay. Well, the answer is that he probably played the Jets or the Chicago Bears are one of those secondaries where you just get shut down. Wait a second. No, you played the Commanders. Hold on. The Commanders, who were the third best matchup when you adjust for schedule. How did this happen? They were down the entire game. I mean, I know they were never going to win the game, but it was pretty confusing to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. Again, 3 targets. That's worse than when Bryce Young was playing in weeks 1 and 2. This was by far his worst week. And I guess the light at the end of the tunnel here is that technically they are saying that, and when I say they, I mean head coach, is saying that he's going to remain as a starter. Okay, so that is the light at the end of the tunnel here. Sorry. All right. Dave Canales says Andy Dalton is going to remain the starting quarterback. So we've had 3 incredible games for Deontay Johnson with Andy Dalton, and we've had 2 absolute busts. I don't know, guys. At some point, it makes less and less and less sense to start Andy Dalton. I know. If you're out there and you own Deontay Johnson, nobody wants to see Bryce Young. But I've been feeling this way for a couple weeks. I keep suggesting it on our live streams. I mean, they're 1-6. What is the point of keeping Andy Dalton out there now? I mean, does Deontay Johnson get traded? Maybe that's what you hope for at this point. But I see a very realistic scenario where in the not so distant future, Bryce Young is starting for this team again. Because otherwise, what are we doing? What are we doing? Yes, I know you want to win games. You're 1-6. You have a number 1 overall pick that you want to develop. You can't develop him unless you play him. You got to let him go through the ringer. I know he's already been through the ringer, but honestly, this is probably a 5 to 6 out of 10 for me on Deontay Johnson. All right? I mean, we had a nice run, but it is not looking pretty with the upcoming schedule. All right? Keep in mind, the run started in week 3 versus the Raiders. Incredible matchup. We'd love to see that. It continued versus Cincinnati, which is a team that you can beat through the air. It stopped versus Chicago. Tough matchup. So we've seen in tough matchups, he hasn't been able to perform. But then versus Atlanta, which is a decent matchup, he comes out and has a bounce back. And the upcoming schedule, Denver in week 8. Denver in week 8. Do you want me to lie directly to your face and right now and tell you I'm confident to play Deontay Johnson? I refuse to do it. Okay? If Pat Surtain's out, maybe that feels better. But I see a rocky road. Coming up. I mean, because you've got Pat Surtain if he's healthy. The Denver Broncos, that secondary is legit. And then after that, you've got New Orleans. He'll probably see Marshawn Lattimore, who shut down Mike Evans recently. After that, you've got the Giants, who I know they kind of shit the bed today. But that's a good defense, man. They put pressure on the quarterback like nobody else. It's balls to the wall. And then after that, you got Kansas City. Oh, my God. So you got a bye week in between there. You're telling me 4 weeks in a row I'm not excited about Deontay Johnson. And the middle schooler could come back. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm seeing alarm bells. In fact, I think this is more like an 8 out of 10, if I'm honest with you. I think this is more of an 8 out of 10 than it is a 6 out of 10. What is your number on Deontay Johnson? How panicked are you? Because to me, I'm struggling to remain calm. I am. I think really what you have to hope for, if we're being 100% transparent with each other, you got to hope for a trade. If Deontay Johnson's not traded, you might be holding a bag that you don't want to hold. So you might be looking at packaging him in a deal. All right, let's move on. And let's talk about Rhamondre Stevenson. Okay, so, this was a bit confusing. I'm not going to lie to you, this was a bit confusing. Everything suggested Rhamondre was a pretty good play this week. He was healthy. They played the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is maybe one of the best matchups for your running back. In fact, statistically, we know it is. It's a top 3 matchup for your running backs. He was healthy. The last time he played, he had over 17 touches. And historically, this team has used him when they were down in the air. That's not exactly what happened on Sunday. Didn't exactly work out that way, did it? I mean, they were down the majority of this game, and typically in the past, you'd see those sweet garbage time targets for our boy Rhamondre Stevenson. But what happened in this game? They killed him. They killed our boy Rhamondre Stevenson. JaMycal Hasty. I mean, Rhamondre gets this team. The combo of Rhamondre and Drake May, by the way, looks incredible. I mean, Drake May is so fun to watch. One of my hot takes of the week was that he would have over 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, finishes a top 10 quarterback. And I think we're on track to hit that one. But Rhamondre should have hit as well. He and Drake May drive this team all the way down the field. And then on third down, as if Rhamondre couldn't do it. I mean, you could have left Rhamondre in there for that play. He could have got the receiving touchdown. But they said, you know what? Let's not put in the backup. No. Let's fuck around and put in the third stringer, JaMycal Hasty, and facing his former team. So JaMycal Hasty comes in. He has a target on that first drive. He catches it, runs it in for a touchdown. Great play by him. But the concerning part here is the usage. Is this just because Rhamondre Stevenson's been dealing with an injury? Or is this a sign of things to come? You can see Rhamondre Stevenson played just 30 snaps. All right, 30 out of 60 snaps. He played 50% of the snaps in a game where it made no sense not to play him. I don't know, maybe he was injured. Maybe that's what we can rely on right now. But he only played 30 snaps. He had no goal line opportunities. He wasn't in there on the 2-minute drill. In short yardage scenarios, they used JaMycal Hasty. On third downs, they used JaMycal Hasty. And Antonio Gibson got injured in this game. So, this is not a good sign, guys. This is not a good sign. I know he had the fumbling issues, but I don't know, man. I really can't wrap my head around the usage for Rhamondre Stevenson in this game. I really cannot understand it. The only thing I can point to is maybe the injury was a bigger deal than they were letting on, and they had to limit him. And if you own him, that's what you have to tell yourself. That's what you have to hope. But it's not looking good. I mean, the sun's coming down, big guy. It really is. Guys, I don't think you want to hear this, but this could be exactly what you're getting in the next 3 weeks. Do you want to know why? Look at the upcoming schedule. Rhamondre's got the Jets in week 8. Oh my God. He's got the Titans in week 9. Holy Lord. And he's got the Chicago Bears in week 10. Those are 3 defenses you can't throw on well. You can't run on well. I mean, it might be disgusting for Rhamondre Stevenson coming up. He still has to have his bye week. I don't know if I can paint a pretty picture for you here. I think the panic should be like a 5 to 7 out of 10. Hopefully he was just injured and he's going to continue to be the workhorse. But the matchups are not good moving forward. That was probably, genuinely, if you own Rhamondre Stevenson, that was the best matchup you had for the rest of the year. And he busted. Busted! I mean, tough. Tough to hear, man. Tough to hear. All right, let's move on to our last player here. And this is now a multi-offender. A 3-time all-bust list member. It's not where you want to be. I'd like to sit down with Ben Johnson, and I'd like to just say, Ben, I'm not as smart as you. Can you please explain to me Sam LaPorta's usage like I'm 3 years old? I don't feel like you're going to disrespect me, okay? I understand you're smarter than me. I get it, Ben Johnson. I understand you're an established, accomplished offensive coordinator in the NFL. But I just want you to sit down with me and hold my hand, Ben, and tell me it's going to be okay. I want you to explain to me, like I'm 3 years old, why this is happening? How did you massacre our boy like this? The best ever season from a rookie tight end that we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. He has 1 touchdown. He has no games with 6 or more targets. Explain it to me, please. Explain it. And I know Jameson is starting to break out, but why are we targeting Khalif Raymond? Why are we targeting Tim Patrick? Why are we not at least having 4 design targets per week for Sam LaPorta? 5 targets. Guys, do you remember week 1? We were like, oh yeah, 8.5 points. It's bad for Sam LaPorta. It'll get better. Oh, wow. Life comes at you fast, doesn't it? That was his highest targeted game in week 1. 8.5 points was his second best game on the year because he had the touchdown versus Dallas on 1 catch, 1 target. I don't think I've ever seen something like this. I've seen this for aging players, right? Tight ends who get up there in age and it's just they're a little too old. They're not the same player athletically. They lost a step. I have never seen a rookie tight end dominate the way Sam LaPorta did historically and then be a complete non-factor. It's blowing my mind right now. He's averaging under 3 targets per game. Sam LaPorta is averaging 2.8 targets per game. How is that possible? How is that possible? How is he not getting more opportunities in the red zone? Someone please explain this to me. I'm asking you, Ben. We don't have to sit here and pretend like I'm smarter than you, because I'm not. But I want you to hold my hand and tell me it's going to be okay, because I don't think it is. This is rough, guys. I don't know when this turns around. How many more weeks can we just be like, yeah, he's dealing with an injury. He's coming back from the injury, and he's going to get more involved. How many weeks can we do this circle? All right? It's like when you had your first girlfriend, and she said, you know what, I think we should take a break. And you don't want to come off, as insecure. She's like, yeah, you know what, I think you're right, yeah. And then a week goes by, and you get no text from her. You're like, wait, hold on. But I think she still likes me, though. And then another week goes by. No text from her. Well, she's busy. She's got summer camp, actually. She's currently dealing with something in her life right now, okay? And then 3 weeks go by. A month goes by. And you have to send her the text, hey, should we talk? It leaves you on red. Sam LaPorta, he's leaving you on red right now. He's not replying. And I don't know if he ever will. Is it time to look for someone else? Is it time to open your horizons? It's a big old... it's not actually. I was about to say it's a big old ocean out there, but for tight ends, it is not. So you're probably just going to keep being abused. You're probably just going to keep in this relationship waiting for her to text you back, but she never does. But what are you supposed to do? This is like that exact situation, but you live in North Dakota, and there's only 3 girls in your neighborhood anyway, and the internet doesn't exist yet. What are you going to do? You going to move to New York? You don't have the finances. You don't have the ability. You don't have the infrastructure in your life. You might have to hold on. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all. And I'm sorry if you're in that position. I don't currently own any Sam LaPorta, but I do not envy you. All right. Last thing we should talk about is some key injuries here that we need to watch. We talked about Ayuk. We talked about Jaden Daniels. Daniels looks okay. Ayuk doesn't. DK Metcalf, we don't really have any update on that, honestly. We don't have any real information on him at this point. But as I find out any information, I will tweet about it. All right? So if you don't follow me over on the old X, as they call it nowadays, then feel free to do so. And as I find out information, I will definitely let you guys know. I'll retweet it. All right, so I'll put that link in there. But yeah, at the moment, we don't really have any solid information on DK Metcalf. I'm sure new information will come out. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was injured. And honestly, like, no disrespect to him, thank God. Thank God. If you own David Njoku, if you are going to pick up anybody off the waiver wire from this team, respectfully, like, I mean, it is so much better to have Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback. It just is. Outside of that, does this really matter? Juju Smith, I mean, he's probably going to miss multiple weeks. You don't leave the game with a hamstring injury and then just magically come back next week. That just doesn't happen, right? So odds are it's probably a long injury for Juju. I'm saying 2 to 3 weeks at minimum. So anyway, guys, unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I appreciate you guys. We did hit our like goal of 300. You guys are incredible. I appreciate y'all so much. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. I hope whatever you need to happen in your leagues happens tonight. If you have Devontae Adams or Breece Hall or a defense, I don't know why you'd start Pickens. I mean, maybe Pickens goes off. Maybe he clowns on me. Yeah. But I appreciate y'all. I've got a huge amount of people playing tomorrow night. In the Flock League, we've got Baker Mayfield, we've got Derrick Henry, we've got Trey McBride, we've got Chris Godwin, we've got Justin Tucker all tomorrow night. And we desperately need them to go off because we did not have a good game. But I appreciate y'all for being here with me. We do have one super chat I don't want to skip here. Jacob says, start Kyler or Aaron Rodgers. Safe floor. I'm probably just starting Kyler, but I could see that going either way. It's not like the Steelers are a good matchup anyway, but trust your gut on that one. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for being here. Good luck. Sunday Night Football starting. All love. And by the way, last thing I'll say, if you don't have a free account on Flock Fantasy yet, there's a lot of incredible free tools available for you. I'll put a link in the chat, guys. All right, go sign up for a free account with the promo code LAN. The trade calculator, the team analyzer, and the expert consensus rankings are available for you. I appreciate y'all. Have a good night. All love.